Daniel Sports Central, we go over our next team prediction of this offseason, and it's going to be over the Oregon Ducks, a team that went 12-2 overall in the 2023 season. This team was a couple of Washington losses away from potentially winning a national championship last year. That's just how good this team was. No team came close to beating Oregon last season except for Washington, and they did it twice. But for Oregon looking forward to 2024, this team is only on the rise looking forward. This team could definitely be the national champion in this upcoming season, and why that is we'll be talking about here today. We'll be looking at the players this team will be losing and returning, and predict their schedule top to bottom in this video. So with that, let's get started with a quick recap of 2023. Once again, the record being 12-2. Really from the start, this team came out of the gate on fire. They scored 81 points in week one. That was on Portland State, but still, to see this offense do what they did in week one was extremely impressive. And then Texas Tech beat them by 8. We kind of knew going into that matchup that was a dangerous one, but the Ducks did come out on top there. Beat Colorado 42-6. The Buffs were ranked 19th in the country in that matchup. That was when all the hype was going down there in Colorado in September. Oregon put an end to that real quick, so that was definitely a highlight of the season. And then did lose to Washington a couple of weeks later by 3 on the road. I mean, it was kind of the same case for both the Washington games last season. Both games were close, could have absolutely gone either way, and both of them went to the Huskies in the end. But down the stretch, you look at how dominant this team was. Beat Cal 63-19, beat USC 36-27. I mean, the way this team beat Arizona State or even Oregon State. Oregon State was legit, especially at the end of the season. Ducks beat them 31-7, and I feel like we all kind of thought that the Ducks were going to take the rematch in the Pac-12 title game, but the Huskies were just the team of destiny last season, and Oregon did lose that game in the Pac-12 title game by 3. Turns out this team was in the Fiesta Bowl, beat Liberty 45-6, so a dominant way to finish out what was obviously a great season for Oregon. 12 wins is no easy thing to do, but there's still that background thought of what could have been in the 2023 season for Oregon. But looking forward to 2024 now with your roster preview. Bo Nix is gone. Dillon Gabriel's coming in, though, and this is obviously huge, landing him from Oklahoma. He is a for-real quarterback that's going to be one of the best in the country up here in 2024. But, I mean, Bo Nix, what he did last season should not be overlooked. 45 touchdowns over 3 picks is an incredible touchdown-interception ratio, 4,500 yards and 77% on the completion rate. So Bo Nix was incredible last season for this team. Dillon Gabriel does have some big shoes to fill, but I definitely think he can do it. You look at the backfield, Bucky Irving's gone. He was incredible last season. Jordan James is returning, which is huge, and you also bring in Jay Harris from the transfer portal, who should have an impact, it seems, in 2024. Troy Franklin's gone, the top receiver. Tez Johnson's coming back, same with Trayshawn Holden, and then Gary Brandt. And also you can't forget about Terrence Ferguson in the tight end position. So this receiving core is going to be tough. Got Evan Stewart coming in from Texas A&M as well. This receiving core looks great. The backfield looks great. Dillon Gabriel is going to be great. This offense is going to be great in 2024. This is definitely going to be a brutal offense, and defensively as well. This team's going to be experienced. The secondary has had a lot of changes, but the D-line looks really good. Linebacking situation looks good. I mean, you look at this team as a whole, obviously it's going to look different in 2024, but this team has got a strong chance to win the Big Ten in this upcoming season. I really wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think there's Ohio State and Oregon. Those are probably your two main favorites, in my mind at least. I mean, Michigan's going to look a whole lot different. They're probably my number 3. But, yeah, Oregon and Ohio State, those are the two teams that I'm especially keeping an eye on to win the Big Ten in 2024. Your transfer portal recruiting, Dante Moore is also coming in from UCLA. He's the quarterback of the future, it seems. Ty Thompson's off to Tulane. That was a little bit surprising, but this team is still doing okay in the quarterback situation, obviously, with Dillon Gabriel and Dante Moore. Jay Harris coming in from Northwest Missouri State. Evan Stewart coming in from Texas A&M. You also bring in a few guys, Matthew Bedford for the O-line, and then Caldwell and Harmon for the D-line. You lose Jake Shipley, but you do bring in Muhammad from Washington for the secondary. He's definitely got to keep an eye on. Same with Cam Alexander, and then Kobe Savage, Brandon Johnson, all expected to be starters. So this team has done pretty well in the transfer portal. Do lose a few players, but no one, not a lot of significant players, though, which is a good thing. Recruiting-wise, 3rd in the country, top team in the Big Ten. So that's definitely way to enter the Big Ten is with the top recruiting class. Got 22 4-stars coming in and 5 3-stars. So Ducks are a team that I think has a really bright future. I mean, as they enter the Big Ten, it's a new era. I think Oregon's ready for it, though, and the Big Ten's going to be tougher. I mean, you got Oregon, Michigan, Penn State especially, who are the main standouts right now in the original Big Ten. But of the 4 newcomers in Oregon, USC, UCLA, and Washington, I would say the Ducks are in the best position going into the Big Ten. I got this team at a 10 on the future forecast. But with that, let's take a look at the schedule now as we look forward to 2024. So got Idaho in week 1, Boise State week 2, 2 very winnable games right off the bat, and then Oregon State on the road in week 3, still keeping that rivalry going, but instead it's earlier on in the season. Then you got UCLA on the road, Michigan State at home, Ohio State. This is a huge game here on the 12th. I feel like this is probably your biggest regular season game. The Buckeyes coming to Eugene. That's going to be a fun one there for sure. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a rematch of that game in the Big Ten title next season. And then you got Purdue on the road, Illinois at home, Michigan on the road to start in November, and then Maryland, Wisconsin, Washington to finish out the regular season. So still play Washington, still play UCLA, no USC this season, and obviously most notably Ohio State and Michigan having to play the Wolverines on the road this year. But looking at the first month of action, Idaho, Boise State, I think all 4 of these games are pretty easy wins for Oregon. I feel like this team's really going to start out hot here in 2024. I feel like they've got the experience to do so. This is a good enough team to the point where, I mean, they honestly could blow out all 4 of these teams. Idaho, Boise State, both at home. Oregon State is, I mean, that game could be closer just because it's a rivalry. But I think Oregon State's a much different team in 2024 versus where they were in 2023. I think they fall off a decent amount. So do you think Oregon takes care of that one, and UCLA is in a very strange position? They're, I would say, easily in the worst position of the 4 Big Ten newcomers. Not sure about the Bruins right now, so I think you take care of them no problem. So I'd say an easy 4-0 going into the Michigan State game. Really not expecting too much out of Sparty this upcoming season, so you take care of them. And then Ohio State in week 6 here. This is, I would say, once again, the biggest regular season game on the schedule. I mean, yeah, the implications of this game are huge. These will be 2 of, I would say, your top 4 teams in the country next season. And I think that Oregon does pull it off in Eugene. Oregon's a brutal place to play. Ohio State is, I mean, if you look at talent-wise, I feel like Oregon and Ohio State are really on a similar level. I'm going to take Oregon there to pull off a huge win against Ohio State there on the 12th. And then Purdue, Illinois, 2 easy wins. This team could honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was the top-ranked team in the country. If this were the case for the first 8 games, this could be the top-ranked team in the country going into the Michigan game as an 8-0 team. But I do think this is where you drop one in Ann Arbor. The Big House, a really brutal place to play. Michigan's not going to be quite as good in 2024. Still got Michigan at 10 wins this upcoming season. But I do think this is where you drop one. I mean, if you can beat Michigan, though, I mean, this is a team that could honestly be smooth sailing to 12-0. But I do think Michigan finds a way. I mean, the Wolverines probably won't be playing very good in September. I think by the time we get to November, though, Michigan kind of finds a groove, and they'll be playing some pretty good ball. So I'm going to take Michigan there, and then Maryland, you take care of them, no problem. Wisconsin's kind of a dangerous place to play. So I think Wisconsin maybe hangs in there against Oregon. I don't think Wisconsin beats Oregon, but I do want to take the Ducks there to pull it off. And then Washington at home. Get your revenge over the Huskies in the final week of the regular season. Got them at home. Washington's not going to be quite as good in 2024. I'm not sure what I'm expecting out of them quite yet. I mean, they're not going to be quite as good, obviously. I think maybe 8 wins is a good estimate for them as of now. I haven't looked too much into them, but I do think that you beat Washington, which brings you to an 11-1 record this upcoming season. Got it at a low 7 on the strength of schedule. Ohio State, Michigan, definitely the toughest games. But Wisconsin and Washington both kind of in the background there. And you never know about Oregon State going on the road there in a rivalry game. But ceiling is definitely 12-0 for Oregon. I feel like this team could definitely go undefeated. Got 9-3 as the floor, and 11-1 is my prediction. I think that, Ohio State, for my prediction for them, I got Ohio State also at 11 wins, with their one loss being to Oregon. So that pretty much guarantees an Oregon-Ohio State rematch in the Big Ten title game if that were to happen. And at this point, I feel like even if I mean, no matter what happens in that Big Ten title game, if it happened that way, Oregon could still be a top 4 team in the playoff. That's just how good I think Ohio State and Oregon will be this upcoming season. But with that, let me know your thoughts and comments below on Oregon. What do you think of this team? And I appreciate you guys watching as always. My name is Evan, this is All Sports Central. Stay tuned for more. We'll catch you on the next one.